Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be flying out the Wyvern sitting at 4.3 in the British tech tree as a premium. I'm just going to get straight to the point. This plane is actually a joke. Not including jets, I would say that the Wyvern is one of the best premium planes that you can buy in War Thunder. At 4.3, this thing gets an attacker spawn with 1200 rounds of Hispano Mark V cannons across 4 guns. It goes 650 kilometers per hour on the deck and beats nearly anything in a race below 3,000 meters. This plane is an early game monster that has the capability to destroy the entire enemy team before they even knew it hit them. The Wyvern also has a pretty decent payload, but since I fly everything as a fighter and I don't really play ground RB, I never really ended up using that stuff. Although this plane is overpowered, there are a couple of major downsides that do need to be talked about. Firstly, this is the thing that gets you killed most of the time in the Wyvern. It is the MER, or Maneuver and Energy Retention. I believe that this plane has the worst MER out of any prop in the entire game. Worse than the Bearcat, worse than the MB5, all that stuff. You bleed so much speed in a turn that if you are caught off guard or are not careful with your turns, even some of the slowest fighters can end up getting within gun range, especially the planes that retain energy well. I found Yaks, PM1s, BF-109s, XP-55s, all that stuff that just has good maneuver and energy retention, or energy retention in general. I found those things pretty annoying to deal with when flying this thing. The next bad asset is its performance at altitude. The Wyvern is an early turboprop and loses a substantial chunk of its engine power as altitude increases, so much so that BF-109s like the G2 and F4 can catch you and outclimb you above 5,000 meters. Besides climbing into the enemy at the start of the game, I do recommend that you guys try and keep the Wyvern below 3,500 meters because it starts to become more vulnerable to those aircraft that can possibly catch it above that. Also, try and not let your speed drop below 400 kilometers an hour or anywhere kind of near that. The Wyvern's engine loses efficiency at low speeds and has abysmal low speed handling. In stalls, controlling this thing literally feels like trying to steer a battleship. Instead of sharp turns to make passes, doing straight boom and zoom passes will get you the most results. You will be above nearly everything at the start of the match, so that will help. Overall, the Wyvern has pretty good high speed handling as its elevator doesn't really compress and it actually gets better at high speed. But since this plane is so massive, the controls do feel sort of sluggish, especially the roll. Although the roll is decent when it gets up to speed, it does have a lot of inertia. If you've ever flown a P-47, the feeling is very similar. The last thing is this plane's durability. Long story short, just don't get hit. You are extremely prone to fires, and your wings also like to fall off to a single 20 mil. It's pretty annoying. My main strategy in the Wyvern is to just send it into the enemy team and shoot everyone down as quickly as possible. First in head-ons, which possibly make up more than half my total kills, I'd say, and then boom and zoom. Make sure you dodge the head-ons though. Trust me, the feeling of getting one shot on fire by 50 cal is just not fun. In conclusion, the Wyvern is a great pick for ARB, whether you're trying to grind or just trying to have some fun. Despite its disadvantages, it is still a broken plane to fly, and it's also super satisfying to just mow down the entire enemy team before they even knew it happened. Also, if you guys haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to give me some support. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Anyways, let's hop into the video. So, this first clip is a reversal of an I-225 as well as an XP50, and although the Wyvern does not turn well at least low speeds, the I-225 and XP50, they turn better than me. However, the problem with them is that they compress, so as you can see, I'm using the I-225 speed against him here. He's kind of past that 550 kilometers an hour threshold where he starts really locking up, and my elevator doesn't really do that, so I can just kind of loop back over and around him, slot in behind him, and I get a free shot. And there's now an XP50 diving on me, and he does take a little bit longer to compress. He has to go probably 620. However, as long as I dive steep enough below him like this, then he's not really going to be able to get a shot as long as I just dodge the guns. He starts compressing, he can't pull into that shot. I can just kind of turn back around, back into him, and there's not really much he can do here unless he goes straight vertical. However, as you can see, I already have all my guns on him, and since I have 1200 rounds, I can just keep spraying until one of them finds home, his wing comes off, and he goes down. Moving on, we have an example of me getting caught off guard. So, as you can see, P-51C comes straight out of the clouds. I think I saw him a couple of, maybe half a minute ago. However, when you're that close, you can't really do anything. And the P-51D that was already on my 6 just one-shot me on fire, and yeah, that happens a lot more than I'd like to admit. The Wyvern is just really sensitive to that fire stuff, and although it does have a fire extinguisher, it doesn't really seem to work unless you have an engine fire. I don't know if it's bugged, maybe it's just around the engine, but you're not really going to be putting the fire out unless it is an engine fire and you activate it immediately, activate the extinguisher immediately. and then you're just gonna have a dead engine. So anyways, this is an example of an I-185. I'm trying to run away from him, and the I-185 isn't the fastest plane. It is pretty quick. It goes like 580 on the deck, and as you can see, he's easily keeping pace with me, and that's because when I micromaneuver, even like when I maneuver this slightly, this easily, I'm still losing speed when I'm doing this because of how bad this MER is. So if you do get caught like this within an enemy's gun range and you have to dodge, then it's very, very hard to actually be able to run away from them because of the amount of speed that you lose even with these like kind of micro maneuvers. Luckily, I do end up getting just enough distance and he ends up breaking off, but this does also happen quite a bit if you do get caught off guard. Anyways, we're going to hop into the first full game of the video, and this is an 8-kill game, and this first clip of like 1 minute just kind of shows you what can happen. Unfortunately, I don't know how none of those rounds hit that Yak 3, but some of your games are going to look like this. The entire enemy team is just going to be AFK in front of you, and it's pretty funny because you can just pick up like 3 or 4 of these kills. I get 3 of them right there. I now go head on with the Corsair. I do have to be a bit careful because Corsairs do have 50 cals, so I'm going to break off. F4E1C comes in. I have to be even more careful. Those 20 mils are really scary. Luckily, I do get him as well, and I'm now just going to book it out of there after I get 5 of them away from the Yak 3 and the Key 61. Although the Yak 3 does have a pretty low rip speed, he is still going to easily keep trail with me just because of how well he dives and how well he retains energy. Oh my goodness, the voice crack, excuse me. But yeah, the Yak 3s have very good energy retention. I do get crit in the tail there. But as you can see, he is catching me, and he will be catching me for quite a while here, or at least keeping pace with me. Again, I am like 70 kilometers an hour faster, I believe, on the deck. But as you can see, the Yak 3 is pretty easily keeping trail. And it's just going to be a matter of time. I just have to really wait it out. And I'm just making sure to look back at him because his Berezins are still in range, even though we're going this fast. Berezins have a very, very good range. They're probably my favorite 50 cal, I'd say. As you can see, eventually I do start outrunning him, and the second he breaks off, I'm just going to put it into a pretty steep zoom climb, and my teammates are actually here to help now. So Mitchie takes down the Key 61. He's going to go down to the water in a second. There he goes. And the Yak 3 is now kind of sandwiched between us 3. And there's not really much he can do because he lost quite a bit of speed. I go head on. He takes it, and he gets set on fire. He didn't really have he didn't have a choice really there besides taking head on to try and kill one of us as quickly as possible. However, the Wyverns are not the planes you want to go head on with, especially in a Yak 3. After a bit of ground pounding, after killing 6 guys in like a minute and a half, I do see, give it a second, there are 2 fighters that are actually taking care of our enemy team, or our teammates, excuse me. 2 of their fighters are actually taking care of our teammates pretty well, so I want to just kind of ignore the ground targets now and go for these guys. This A6M5 is definitely a really good pilot, and as you can see, he was dodging pretty well. He was going straight down, and I'm just going to go for the P51D instead. Luckily, I'm able to pull just enough lead. I get a shot, and now I have to just run away from the A6M5. He is in gun range, so I do have to be pretty careful. P51's a bit salty in chat, as you can see. Pretty funny. I accidentally fat finger the gear key. However, I'm still going to pretty handily be able to run away from the Zero because it is the slowest fighter at this BR. I do have to be careful of the guns. However, I'm already out of his gun range now. Just kind of returning the salt back at that Mustang. And I really want to get A here, so I am going to go head on with the A6M5, and he is pretty desperate, so he's going to take it. And although I do get the kill, as you can see, a single 20 mil just takes my wing off completely. I say, what the hell, because yeah, single Japanese 20 should not do that to a wing this big. But it is what it is. I ended up getting 8 this game. I'm still pretty happy about it. As you, oh my goodness, 6,000 score in 1 sortie, and that's another part of the, I'd say, great armaments. Like the armament, you have 1,200 rounds of MkV Hispano. It's absolutely insane. This next game is just a really quick ace. I go head on with the Yak 3, and I'm now going to turn into the P51D. And this kind of dogfight here shows you how badly this thing turns at low speed. I'm using takeoff flaps, and I can barely get behind this guy. I'm losing all my speed. He goes vertical, and I'm just barely able to pull into him. As you can see, look how just hard it is to try and get my plane to maneuver. So yeah, don't go below 350, don't go below 400 kilometers an hour. It's just not the best idea because the Wyvern is not just... The Wyvern's engine isn't only inefficient, the airframe just can't handle the low speed. Anyways, after killing this BTD, I now go for this Yak 3. He's not really paying attention, he gives me a full broadside. 4 MkV Hispanos against a wooden airframe like that, he stands no chance. And then the last guy is an F4U4. A pretty easy shot, he's not really paying attention, and that is my 5th kill. Moving on, we have a 10 kill game here. Yes, 10 kills. And this was a game that was solo, I played solo, and I first go for the BB238, the Sky Whale as I'd call it. I take him down pretty handily. 4 MkV Hispanos don't really have a problem with bombers. And yeah, luckily I don't get hit by any of his guns. 13 mils are pretty dangerous because they do set fires quite often, but I don't get hit. BB238 goes down, and I can now kind of just head towards the enemy team that's climbing. I first go for the L185 because he is the closest. Unfortunately, I only get hits there. I now go for the 109 F4. He goes down, and I'm going to turn left away from those guys behind me. And in this situation, I want to kill as many people as quickly as possible and kind of ignore what's behind me because there are just too many enemies around me to try and focus on all of them at once. Luckily, I'm able to get the 190 as well before I go down. A6M2 is never going to catch me in a dive, even if I'm directly below him. And nobody really catches me in a dive if they're already out of gun range. As you can see, I'm completely outrunning the A6M2, L185, and all it's going to take is just a bit of extending before they either break off or before I have enough distance to turn back around and go for a head-on. So eventually, A6M2 breaks off, L185 will also break off, and after a bit of kind of extending downwards, those guys, the enemy team, do go for most of my fighters. They end up dying, unfortunately. I go for this Yak 9K. Unfortunately, I just overlead. The rudder at this speed isn't the most responsive. I go for the L185 now. He gets severely damaged. I go for the second L185. He presents full broadside. He goes down. And that is going to be 5 kills. And I can now just kind of extend towards the middle of the map where most of the rest of the enemies are. That Yak 9 looks like he's RTB, and I'd rather go for the middle of the map where most of the enemies are rather than chase the Yak 9 because even though I am fast, I'm not that quick. I'm not going to really get to his airfield before I get hit by the AA. And I also just want to take as many of these enemies out as quickly as possible because my team is not really doing that well in the numbers department. I first go for this Key 44 who was the closest to me, but he's also occupied by this bomber that he's trying to kill. So I can pretty easily sneak up behind him. And yeah, it doesn't really take many rounds to shoot him down. And I can now go for the enemies towards the middle. So I'm trying to keep an eye on the LA7, however the A6M5 is the one that's coming more directly towards me. So I want to make sure to head on him first. A6M5 does the smart thing and does not go head on with me. And this was also before I started using stealth rounds. I believe this was like my second match in the Wyvern. And I got pretty lucky with the 10 kills. But yeah, unfortunately I don't hit the A6M there. I'm now going to extend towards the second LA7. He's not really paying attention to me. I take a little shot at the BF-110 AI, just because I have so much ammo. And although the LA7 is very fast on the deck, he's never going to be outrunning me. All it takes is a couple of Hispanos to the tail, he goes down. I go head on with the second LA7, none of my bullets hit, I'm just going to dodge him. I almost crashed into the ground there. Luckily, I just managed to pull up in time, and I'm just going to extend away. Because the LA7, although, again, it is fast on the deck, it's never going to really catch me, especially out of that turn. And I also have a teammate coming to help. These two Spitfires were still alive, but they were just kind of at high altitude. I don't really know what they were doing the entire game. However, it's better that they help now than never, because LA7s are pretty annoying against Wyverns. They're very fast in the altitude, they retain their energy well. And although the LA7 is pretty slow there, I'm not really able to hit him because he flies basically directly through my stream of bullets. However, he's going to go down to the Spitfire very shortly. I now go for this Spitfire, who's on the enemy team. I take a head-on. Unfortunately, one of his Hispanos actually slams into my wing root, and I'm now crit. And as you can see, look at that speed drain. All I just do is pitch up into like a 30-degree climb, and I lose all of my speed instantly. And now the Spitfire is actually catching me in this climb. And yeah, again, this was like the second or third game I played in the Wyvern. I don't really know how it functions, and I basically just gave this guy a full broadside shot because I was like damaged, I was slow. Luckily, he doesn't really end up hitting it, so I'm going to be able to sort of run away from him. Even though I am crit, it is still a Spitfire, and I am still a Wyvern. I'm going to be able to outrun him eventually. All I have to do is just dodge a couple more of his shots. I have Spitfire who's coming in to help me. Although there is an A6M2 behind him, it is a pretty dangerous situation for me and my teammate, because I'm getting chased by a plane who almost will catch me, and he's also dogfighting a plane that can turn better than him in a Spitfire. Luckily, I am getting away from the Spitfire, and he notices this, he turns around, and I'm able to just kind of get space. And you can see how badly this thing turns. Keep in mind, I am crit, but it feels like this anyways, even without damage. This plane is just so massive and so heavy that it just can't turn at low speeds. It cannot operate. However, the Spitfire, I think his engine got shredded by my teammate in the head-on. So I'm just going to take a couple of shots at him, get severe damage, his engine gets set afire, and I can now move on towards the last enemy, which is the A6M2. I only have 71 rounds here, but that should be plenty as long as I either shoot them all in the head-on and kill this guy, or spare them. This guy comes full commit head-on for some reason. I take it with him because I'm not really in the mood to dogfight this guy or just kind of patiently fight this guy while crit. And luckily, he goes down. He's severely damaged, his engine's on fire, and it's just a matter of time before he goes down. That was actually not the last guy. The Yak 9 actually takes off, and my teammate eventually does kill him later game. So we end up winning that. I got my 10 kills, and I think that's tied for my highest kill game ever. Anyways, this is probably like my 30th or something. I don't know. This is a game where I loaded stealth rounds instead of air targets because I actually figured out where the Hispano Mark 5s go. I take a head-on with the B-26B. I don't know why he takes a head-on with me. I'm a Wyvern. But yeah, he took it. LA7 again takes a head-on. I don't really know why. Like, these people just keep going head-on with me, even though I'm Wyvern. I have 4 Mark 5 Hispanos with 1200 rounds. They just can't seem to figure it out. And yeah, I get 3 kills within probably like 20 seconds of each other. And I'm just going to extend away from the furball. There's not many teammates in the area because we do get a pretty far forward air spawn. So it's basically going to be me, and if I do have squad mates in the Wyvern, it's basically just going to be me and them versus the enemy team for probably like 2 or 3 minutes before our teammates arrive. I'm going to go head on with this PM1. And for some reason, he just takes it, and he gets pooped on, because for Hispanos. And yeah, if you have the Wyvern, you might know that this thing just, people like to head on it for some reason. And I kind of have a general rule of thumb, whenever I see a Wyvern, I never head on it. However, for your average War Thunder player, I guess they just don't really know what this thing is. I get the P63, that's going to be 6, and there are 2 enemies below me, 2 Su-6s. Spear picks one of them. He picks the guy to the left, so I'm going to go for the one that's closer to me to the right. He turns full broadside to me, gives me an easy shot. That's going to be 7. And honestly, this, looking over this right now with commentary and voiceover, it's honestly pretty boring. Because it's just me like going in and killing the entire enemy team without really doing anything. This next game is a 7 kill again. I get a pretty nice shot on the Yak 3. And you can see, like, I'm catching these guys and I'm getting to them when they're only at 2,300 meters. That just shows you how quickly you can get to the enemy team. And if you're at 2,300 meters in a regular fighter, you're not really going to be paying your full attention usually, because you think that you're not going to get to the fight for another 2 or 3 minutes. However, there's the Wyvern just coming in and taking you out before you can even do anything. And it's really dumb, because like this plane is, it shouldn't have an attacker air spawn. It shouldn't be 4.3. It's pretty darn ridiculous. I get a nice little negative G shot on the 109, and I'm going to, instead of go head on with the J26 there, I'm going to kind of dodge under him and go for the 109 that's in front of me. Unfortunately, none of my rounds hit because I was compressing, or my rudder was compressing, and the 109 actually gets a pretty nice shot on me. However, it doesn't really do any critical damage. And I'm much faster than him. I climb better than him at this altitude, so I'm just going to kind of zoom away and bait this guy for a Barovi. Barovi is going to get a pretty free kill because this 109 is going to keep pitching up for me. And I'm just kind of waiting until he says severe, because we can kind of both get a kill from this. He says severe, I take him out. That's 5 for me. And I'm now just going to extend to the middle of the map because we killed every single enemy that was over by us. I go head on with the LA7B, he takes it. He's going to go down in a second after that fire kind of just rips his wooden airframe apart. And I'm just going to kind of extend away to the left because those two 109s to my right and in front of me were a bit dangerous, because if they were paying attention to me, they would have been able to get a pretty easy shot on me. Luckily, they both end up going down after I extend away. And the last enemy is an A6M3, at least in this area. He gives me a full broadside shot, he goes down, and that's going to be 7. And it's just as easy as that. Like, this thing, although it is not really noob friendly, it doesn't really take that much skill to play. As long as you know how to keep this thing fast and know how to aim these guns, which isn't that hard to aim these guns, this plane is just overpowered, especially in a squad. And like, you're gonna see, actually, if you saw my community post earlier, you would see that I played most of my games in this and got 99% win rate. And yeah, that's just, it just kind of showcases how disgusting this plane is, especially at 4-3. And as you can see, I just head on 2 guys, they both go down, and I'm engaging these guys at 2,700 meters. They barely get a chance to really even climb, really even do anything. I take 3 people out within 20 seconds of each other before they can react. And that's basically just securing the game in a nutshell, because my teammates also got 1 or 2 guys, and that's like 6 or 7 people. That's about half the enemy team dead, just in that like 1 minute time frame where the Wyverns just arrived. And good thing about Hispanos is that they have really good range. Click. He goes down from about 1.15, and yeah, this plane is just disgusting. It's just, excuse my language, but it's just a shit show. Like, this plane should not be 4-3. I take a head on with the P-51C, he full commits, he goes down eventually because he's on fire. And the P-51 over there to the left that I severely damaged a minute ago is also going to go down to my teammate, I believe. Yeah, the Spitfire over there. And yeah, this is the last game of the video. This is a brain off 6-kill game. So, as you can see, there's 2 guys that are AFK in front of me. I get both of them, and I'm now just going to kind of keep my altitude above these guys. I want to be careful of that Yak 9P that's directly below me because he is stalling out, and he is in gun range. This was with a teammate, Ushiki. There was a 109 that I actually didn't see because I don't know if I just didn't see his name tag or his name tag didn't appear, but yeah, I didn't see him. Ushiki takes him out. I ended up unintentionally baiting him, and I'm now going to go for this 109 who's directly below me. I can just spray all of my ammo because I have 1,200 rounds, and I'm going to use every single one of them. I paid for them, and I'm going to get 3 kills before I extend away. I'm going to ignore the Yak 9P because it's not really, it's a waste of time and energy to try and kill that guy if he's above me, where as like compared to if I go for this furball down here to the left, where I can get multiple kills without really having to reclimb or anything. Unfortunately, my rudder is going to compress there. A7M is going to dodge me. However, he's going to lose a lot of speed in that turn, and he was also slower than me to begin with, so I can easily just zoom climb above him. As you can see, salt in the chat because we're using Wyverns, and I genuinely feel bad after playing this aircraft, especially for how long I played this thing. I think I played 68 games in the Wyvern on this account out of 100. And although I did get the 99% win rate, it was pretty cool to get that. I do feel for the people I shot down because the Wyvern is genuinely just disgusting. After taking down the A7 there, the P-51 luckily wasn't really paying attention to me. I probably would have died there if he was looking at me. I now kill this P-61. He gives me a full broadside, and I can now turn back into the P-51, who's also not really paying attention. I just kind of missed because of the inertia of my plane. He's going to go down by my teammates, and I can now extend towards his P-51. I don't really know what he was doing. He was probably ground pounding and somehow didn't see me out of his peripheral. But yeah, that is going to be 6. That's going to be the end of the game, and that's also going to be the end of the video. I hope this video was at least sort of entertaining, just bot farming and kind of just showcasing how overpowered this Wyvern is. So, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.